Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're here talking all things real estate again. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, hang around right till the end. We have a great video and an announcement to make that we have made in previous episodes, but some follow-up to that. And we have a great show today. And what are we talking about?
We are going to talk about the steps that it takes to buy real estate in BC.
There you go.
Yeah. Which is, generic over all of Canada. The
Sure.
steps are very similar, but with our expertise, we can only talk about British Columbia.
Yeah, but these, obviously, like you said, these steps are not, they're applicable in the other provinces, obviously. There's maybe a different property transfer tax to deal with here versus somewhere else, but like you said, we're going to address what's here. So
there's some nuance difference, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the first thing?
Well, the first thing is you have to get prepared.
Yeah.
First, having a employment history
Sure.
is a good thing to have. Making sure that you have good credit or work on your credit. If you have bad credit, then you can find out ways to improve that. We made a video on that before. You can look that up.
Yeah.
And not just saving for a down payment, but become aware of all of the government assistance that can help you, if any of those are appropriate for you.
Sure.
To help you with your down payment if you want that or desire that. So that would be the very baseline before getting ready to go through the steps of buying a house.
Sure.
So
first thing is then do your prep work. Start. If you're thinking right now, I'm interested in buying a home, or maybe I'm going to buy a home next year, is there anything to really do about it now? Yeah, there is certainly. Find out, like Patrick said, find out what your credit position is and do what you can to improve it, and, start kind of putting in that background work to get ready.
Absolutely. And that could, start gathering professionals that will help guide you in that. So I would go to the mortgage broker, the bank first.
Yeah.
You don't know what your credit is. You don't know what your income would qualify you for.
Yeah.
And it starts to give you a picture, a range of, okay, this is how much the bank will lend to you, plus the amount that you have for deposit.
Right.
So that would be the first place to go to.
Yeah, I would agree. Number one is start the process with the professional. So obviously, go to your bank, go to your... if you don't have a mortgage broker, go to find a mortgage broker. You can, this is where, when we talk about the realtor part of it, the realtor can also assist with that, as we have, for example, we have contacts with, banks and mortgage brokers that we recommend, so that, you can kind of get that due diligence moving along and that process moving forward.
Yeah, and you want to be pointed to reliable professionals that will help you.
Yeah.
So that's a huge step. The second is getting to know the market. Now that you've got an idea from a mortgage broker or the bank, the lender at the bank, you sort of have a range, and you start prioritizing what's most important to you. So you go through a needs and wants list. You could do this with your realtor, or you could sort of, start with a rough idea of, like, this is what I need. I can't be further away than this far from work.
Yeah.
I want my kids to go to this school district. Or I have an option A and an option B, because by the time you start looking at properties with us, those homes might not meet your expectations.
Sure. Yeah.
So you might look for an alternative. Needs and wants list.
I think we could say it this way, and I always say this to my clients: what are your must-haves and what are your nice-to-haves? And make sure you know what that looks like. If it's I must have 2 full baths, it'd be nice to have 2 full baths. Those are 2 different things.
I couldn't live without an ensuite now. I
Okay.
need an ensuite bathroom. Like that's a must
Right.
have.
So, yeah, 100%. So this is all part of the process of
Yeah.
figuring out so that you know, because, and your realtor will probably have this conversation with you, but so that we know that we're looking at the right stuff, right?
Right. So we're not wasting your time looking at properties that just don't match. Now, there's always a chance of uh, maybe this doesn't match, but this is a stunner. You have to look at this house.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't fit the, you know, 7 out of 10 must haves, but it's excellent on one want have that
Sure. Yeah.
might be exciting, right?
Yeah. And I think in conjunction with knowing what the market is doing and knowing what you want, I would say probably somewhere in there, and we talked about professionals, kind of talking about the mortgage broker. I think this is also where you want to engage a realtor who knows what's going on in the market, who can tell you what is going on in the neighborhood that you want to be in, price point wise, availability, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And then at that point, you're going to start gathering your professional team. Once you start looking at, it's not an immediate thing to do, but it's definitely on your to-do list. You're a real estate lawyer, a mortgage broker, a realtor. If it's a home inspector, already start thinking about those things,
Yeah.
right? So you start gathering your professional team, so they all know who you are. They
Yeah.
all know what you're going to be planning on doing next.
Yeah. And, that's where, again, talking about from our perspective as realtors, we have a lot of connections with lawyers, with, if you need an accountant, we can recommend accountants or obviously inspections and so forth. And I tell all my clients, these are not recommendations that I make or that we make because we're getting something for those recommendations. We make those recommendations because our clients in the past have had good experience with these companies or individuals.
That's how these professionals stay on the list,
Yeah.
right? Because like I always think about, I'm not the sports guy, you are, but it's like the sports analogy. I always feel like I'm the quarterback, and who do I pass the ball off? In this case, it's going to be a contractor purchase and sale
Right.
of who's going to take care of that, and we know that they're going to cross not the finish line, the goal line.
Goal line.
See, I'm not that good at sports.
Finish line too, I
It's
guess.
the finish line, score touchdown, whatever. But that's the point of it. Who's going to be able to accomplish that and be reliable? So
Yeah.
that's making sure we have a great team
Right.
at all times.
So you've gone to the mortgage broker, or the bank, so you know what your number looks like. You've contacted an agent and have made yourself aware of what's going on in the market. You know what it is you want now, and your agent will probably set you up on some searches so you can start to see listings that come up that fit your criteria. Now it's time to get out and go have a look at some properties.
Perfect. So the first properties, some people take notes, some people take mental notes. I remember houses by giving them nicknames. Remember the one with the cat? Remember the one with this or that?
Yeah.
So it's a way for me to remember. But if you take notes of houses, because we might only look at one house in one day, or we might look at 10. And if you can remember what the second or third house and some details about it, you know what? If it's a really busy day, if it's a military transfer, corporate transfer, under a tight timeline,
Yeah.
we're going to look at a whole bunch of houses and different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Make notes as you go along.
Yeah.
On if it's on a feature sheet, if it's electronically, whatever.
Yeah.
But this builds a frame of reference if it's the area or if it's the houses in certain price ranges that are being offered.
Yeah.
So now, by the time we get to a house that oh, I think this is the one, you already have a frame of reference if the price they're asking in that neighborhood is a little high or fair or a great deal.
Yeah.
You'll know that because we've been looking at the same houses together.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that gives you a strong, confident position to be ready to make an offer.
Right. So, okay, now we're going out looking at properties. What's next?
Booking them, looking at them,
Right.
taking notes,
So now what?
and when we find the right property and if it's still available, then it's time to make an offer.
Time to make an offer. So At that point, you will talk about the price that you want to offer. You'll have that conversation with your realtor. You'll talk about the terms. So that would be things like the when you want to close and take possession. That would be things like, what about your conditions? Do you need all the conditions? And if so, what are the dates for those conditions? And basically putting the offer together, and then it's submitting the offer.
Absolutely, and start negotiating. Uh, but I want to bring up making sure you have your deposit amount ready. So
Very good. Yeah.
it can't be somewhere somebody will gift it to you, it hasn't come yet, or you're pulling it out of RRSPs. There's a delay before getting money out of certain
Right.
investments. So make sure you have that handy. So if it's 10,000, 50,000, whatever the deposit amount is, uh, that that will be placed once you have an accepted offer and whatever the condition is for the deposit,
Yeah.
that it will be placed in trust with your realtor's, typically your realtor's company's trust account. So that will get removed from your account
Yeah. And
at that point.
usually, and typically, for at least when I write offers, for the most part, I write them such that the deposit is payable within 2 business days after the removal of conditions.
Yes, and
They're,
that's
they're,
been a practice of mine as well. Today we have the homebuyer rescission period, so as soon as you get an accepted offer on the following business day or as soon as possible, you're going to be writing that quarter percent of the agreed price as the homebuyer rescission period deposit. I have to try to
which,
get all that right.
right, but which is only really applicable if you have an unconditional offer.
Right. Even though it's required.
But
Okay.
but if
Yeah,
you
I know.
have,
It really doesn't
it does not
make much
apply,
difference.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So now we've gone back and forth with the negotiation. They've accepted the offer.
Congratulations.
Yeehaw.
You have
Now,
an accepted offer.
now
Yeah.
what?
Well, you might have conditions, and that could be like a subject to financing, which would require your bank or lender to review your contract of purchase and sale, which might also require an appraisal of the property as a condition for approval
Yeah.
for the financing. A home inspection, we always recommend a home
Yes,
inspection.
for sure.
I know there's clients that don't do it, or they get somebody else to do it, or whatever the case may be. It's always a good idea to have a home inspection, that ounce of prevention for such a large investment. So
Yeah.
that's my stance on that.
Yep. And I think we've talked about that also.
We have talked
We,
about that in other episodes.
yeah. So you
And
can,
whatever other conditions that you and your realtor that would recommend would be in that condition. So there's a period of time where you get to do your due diligence on the property. If it's a home inspection, checking with the city, anything that is important or applicable
yeah.
to the property. So you have a conditional period. This could be 3 days. This could be a week. This could be 2 weeks. It depends on the situation and how much needs to be
Yeah.
looked into. So
And certainly part of it also depends on how many other offers are in play when you wrote the offer.
you might have an offer with no conditions, possibly, or minimal.
Or you might have an offer and they might come back to you and say, look, we like the offer, we like everything else, but we'd like you to tighten up the conditions.
Right, because they feel that it's too long to be tied up.
Right.
Tied up meaning the property is not available for someone else to make an offer. Now, someone else could make a backup offer
Yep.
in case if yours is the first one, doesn't go through with the sale. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
But that's a we could do a whole new video on that one, which
Sure.
is nuances and complicated, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay. So now, so now we have an accepted offer. We've gotten through all of our conditions. The next thing we do is what?
Deposit.
The deposit. Well,
Deposit.
also you should add to that, when we've gotten through the conditions, so you'll actually sign something at that point. Your lawyer will have you sign, pardon me, your realtor will have you sign something, which is the removal of conditions,
Right. Subject removal.
subject removal.
Or what do we call it now? Satisfying your conditions.
Or
They give
yeah.
us new forms every year, so it's
Yeah.
got a different name, and I'm still using the old name, right? Because like Canvas Mall West Shore Town Center,
Yeah,
I still call it Can West Mall.
right. So, okay, we've removed now we've removed the conditions. We've taken care of the deposit,
Congratulations, it's official.
right?
You are legally obligated to fulfill the contract on the completion date stated out in the contract of
Yeah,
purchase and sale.
right.
So now there's a period of time, whatever it might be. It might be a short amount of time, might be a long amount of time. So our realtor's office will be sending the instructions to your lawyer, and the seller will be sending instructions to their lawyer, and you will be notifying your bank of an unconditional sale, that you have an agreed contract to purchase and sale now. So as the date of the completion comes closer, your lawyer will be in contact with you to set an appointment to finalize and sign off on that agreement.
Right.
And they will handle the funds for transfer of mortgage. I don't do this part, so I'm doing it from memory from
Yeah.
when I bought and when I've been in the office, lawyer's office. And and the funny thing about the final price that you pay won't be exactly the number that you agreed on, which I thought at the beginning was a little confusing.
Yeah.
But there's property transfer tax is
Yeah.
going to be added on to that.
Yeah.
You might have CMHC fees, which is a mortgage insurance that you pay for the bank in case you default. So they have insurance against your payment schedule.
Yeah.
So that may be there, and if it's a property taxes, if it's been previously paid for
Right.
or not paid for.
Right.
So depending on how many months that you're going to be occupying for the year, yes, there's a lot of details.
Yeah.
But basically, that's the idea. The number that you end up paying won't be exactly the
Yeah.
price that you have agreed on, because the lawyer ends up putting his bill on top of that
Right.
as well.
And I think we talked about that in
So-
another video also, where
Yeah,
we broke all
yeah.
of that down as well. So, so
So-
we finally get to this point now,
That's the completion day.
and now the day of, your realtor will go and get the keys, and then meet you whatever time was written in the contract. Meet you at your new home.
That's the
And-
possession day, which could be the same day,
Could
or
be.
it could be the following day, or
Yeah.
again, whatever might be agreed on.
Right. But he'll show up or she'll show up and meet you at your new home, give you the key, and then you get to start living in your new home. First of all, you go through, at that point, you're going to walk through your home and make sure that it's as you expect it to be and as it is when you saw it and you viewed the property.
Right, because typically in the contract of purchase and sale, it will say what items are included. So the
Yeah.
first thing on my list is I want to make sure is the fridge still there.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen to a client of mine in the past, and the movers picked up the fridge.
Wow.
It wasn't the seller's fault.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But it took a few days to get the fridge back for the new owners.
Right.
So, you just want to make sure there's not like any sort of excessive damage. There might be some wear and tear from moving,
Sure.
as long as
Yeah.
it's not overboard, right? That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I go like a sort of like a quick visual walkthrough, make sure everything's
Yeah.
where it should be.
Yeah. And you're in your new home. That's a wrap.
That'd be a congratulations.
Yeah. So that's the process. I know we're a little bit general, but that's generally, no pun intended, the process for purchasing a home.
And the mortgage payments come out at the end of the month,
Yep.
or whatever you might decide.
Whatever
if you
you've
end up
worked
doing.
out, yeah.
If it's every other week,
And
but
then,
it's after, yeah.
yeah. And so I think, we talked about some other expenses and things like that. Like we said, there's another video of ours. Just go back and have a look. If you, if you haven't, just take a minute and like our channel. That will help us to grow the channel and get the word out. And you'll find there's, how many videos are we up to now? We have
Like 70 videos.
70 videos.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of content on there as well. And one of the things that we announced here just recently, and this is where I said, hang around to the end because we do have an announcement to make, and which is that we have a book coming up.
book coming out. We're working on that currently. We don't have a published date yet, but if you sign up to our newsletter, we'll keep you informed and up to date with that. And that's going to be a how-to guide for buying real estate in BC. Now, this conversation was pretty general, just to give you an overview of what's happening.
Yeah.
But we're going to go in a lot more detail in that book.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have it all done.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to getting it out to everybody and giving you some tools that will just equip you and help you. And I think also, as we mentioned, if you get on the mailing list, you'll make sure that you do get it. And I think we're just working on ramping up our even our newsletter, right?
That's right.
So we're talking about it. I think it's monthly right now, or
yes, and so that's going to become more frequent, and we'll
Right.
keep you up to date as we get closer. And of course, there's different articles that maybe sometimes it's not. It's maybe a little bit more detailed or specific on answering one type of question.
Sure.
So that's going to be in there as well with market updates, and maybe sometimes a little bit about us.
Yeah.
As well, just to keep it interesting, right?
So if you would like to get the newsletter, I would encourage you. Is there a link is that where we're doing a link in the description?
It'll be in the description.
Yeah. So there's a link in the description. If you hit that link, you can get on board with the newsletter, and you won't miss anything. And then also you'll know when and we'll announce it here when we're ready to release the book as well. So, but otherwise, thank you all for joining us. I know we've gone a little bit longer than normal today, but I don't think it made sense to break this one up in the middle like we've done in the past.
No.
So it would have been a tough go. But thank you for joining us. If you haven't, please take a minute and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and that will help us out. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Catch you in the next video.
See ya.